It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe today. In Nigeria, with 86 new coronavirus cases, the total number of confirmed infections in the country has risen from 541 to 627. Now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, gave this update on its Twitter handle on Sunday. It also said that the total number of fatalities recorded from the virus in Nigeria has increased from 19 to 21. Of the 86 cases, 70 are in Lagos, 7 in the Federal Capital Territory, 3 in Katsina, 3 in Akwa Ibom, 1 in Jigawa State, 1 in Bauchi, and 1 in Borno. Now, the disease has spread to 21 states as the nation's capital. And as of 11:58 p.m. on April 18th, the total number of those tested in Nigeria are now at 7,153, out of which there are 627 confirmed cases. Of that number, 436 cases are active and 170 have recovered, while unfortunately 21 have died. So there are the latest statistics and updates with regards to coronavirus in Nigeria. A bit of a worry as we saw an increase in numbers, quite a large increase. However, testing capacity has also gone up. Doctor?
Well, two quick things. Nigeria yesterday recorded the highest number of cases of COVID-19. In one particular day, we had, more than 80 cases. 70 of those cases are from Lagos alone. So Lagos remains the main epicenter in Nigeria. And some states that did not have cases before have also recorded their own index cases, notably Jigawa and Borno states, which means that it is not right for any state government to claim that, either the name of the state is in the Bible or that the state has taken enough measures, therefore, there will be no case of coronavirus in that particular state. What we have seen is a gradual spread. And having the kind of high number that we had yesterday, I think it was 86.
Yes.
That was quite on the high side, the highest that we've recorded since February 27, when the first index case was recorded. Now, you talked about testing. Yes, testing. Nigeria says, it has increased its capacity for testing from 200 testing, recorded initially, which generated a lot of concern. The NCDC has reported up to about over 7,000 cases that have been tested. And the Minister of Health has talked about community testing. And the Lagos State government has talked about house-to-house search for persons who may have possible symptoms. But even with testing, I think it's the improvement in the testing capacity. Now we're told from about 1,500 per day to about 3,000 testing capacity per day. That is probably what is bringing out these numbers that we are now seeing on a daily basis. But even in spite of that, Nigeria is still not doing enough testing. Because if you look at testing per population, what Ghana has been able to achieve, for example, Ghana with just a population of about 30 million has done more testing than Nigeria. In fact, in terms of the statistics, seven times better than Nigeria. The same is the case with South Africa. The same is the case with Mauritania and even Djibouti. A country that has a population of just 1 million has done better, than Nigeria in terms of testing. So I think that in terms of testing, Nigeria still has to do a lot more.
Absolutely.
Dr. Sani Aliyu, who is the national coordinator of the Presidential Task Force, says that the reason we are not testing enough that people are talking about is because there is a very low demand for testing. I do not understand what he means by that, because the more you test, the more you discover the level of the seroprevalence. That's one thing. Now, at another level, over the weekend, the Lagos State government has also taken some measures. The Lagos State government is saying that it's going to improve on house-to-house search for persons with symptoms, and that is going to unveil a strategy with regard to additional measures that will be taken by the state. And in the light of concerns about the burial of Malam Abba Kyari, the Lagos State government pointed out that there is no policy in Lagos State about persons, victims of COVID-19 who die, not being released for burial. But then again, there is a contradiction, because at the federal level, what we were told originally was that there is an existing protocol for the management of the burial of persons who die as a result of COVID-19 complications. So I think, again, here, what we need to see is a better synergy between state governments and the federal government.
Absolutely.
And then over the weekend, another development is the fact that the private sector coalition against COVID-19 started taking certain additional steps to see what they can do to distribute food, according to them, to 1.6 million households across the country. And they are also planning to donate a 200-bed isolation center additionally in Lagos, and to replicate the same across the country. I think that this is important. Information Minister Lai Mohammed had told us previously that the private sector people were not giving cash, that they were helping to develop infrastructure. But although we have evidence to show that in some other instances, they made direct cash contributions. But it's good to see the private sector taking charge of this. And Nigeria needs to do a lot more. In Ghana, the president of Ghana is beginning to talk about reopening business in Ghana. I don't think Nigeria can talk about that now.
Absolutely not.
Ghana is beginning to talk about reducing restrictions after a 21-day lockdown. In Nigeria, we cannot say that. We may even need to extend further. In fact, we may need to shut down the entire country for a whole month, as Governor Oyetola of Osun State had recommended.
Well, you had also said at a time that a nationwide lockdown would actually be what we should have done, and now we're seeing how it spread to more states. So yes, in hindsight. However, we are going to take a very quick commercial break, and when we are back, the morning show continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is our business correspondent, Rotus Odiri. Good morning. And as Doctor mentioned, there's been a partial lifting of a lockdown in Ghana, and I guess you were here to tell us more.
Yes, indeed. So President Nana Akufo-Addo announced it early yesterday that there was going to be a partial lockdown lifted in the country. But before I get to that, it's important to mention that Ghana's GDP growth has been, as far as the Ministry of Finance is concerned, has projected that it's going to slow down to 1.5%. Ghana has enjoyed economic expansion of over 6% for the last 3-4 years or so, which actually allows them to cushion, possibly, again, this is a projection, to cushion the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. You can see that for sub-Saharan Africa, the World Bank says we're going to fall into recession for the first time in 25 years. Nigeria is projected to contract by 3.5%. Again, this is a GDP projection coming from the government. There's still, of course, the IMF and other bodies. But when you are growing at over 6% for 3-4 years, I mean, contracting to 1.5% is like the slowest the economy would have grown in over 37 years. But still, it still allows them to remain in the positive region. It's still a slowdown, but we'll see how things work out there. But what President Akufo-Addo has done was to still restrict schools from opening, and also religious and sporting congregations from getting together. So he's put that in place. But businesses, some people will be allowed to go back to work today. And the thing is, I think I heard Dr. Abati talking about it earlier, that they've ramped up testing considerably. I mean, it's over 68,000 tests that they've carried out in Ghana. I think it's over 108,000 that they've carried out in South Africa. Ghana has like 1,042 cases, only about 9 or so deaths, I believe. They still have 18,000 samples outstanding that are yet to come in. So based on that, the president believes that they possibly have a handle on things, and they are not able to, for people to get back to work. Importantly, factories, the manufacturing sector in Ghana was able to assist in producing some of the items that the medical sectors and so have needed in terms of assisting with testing, gloves, masks, and so on. Ghana also entailed the use of drones to deliver some of these things quickly. So they're using technology, they're using a manufacturing sector that has contributed immensely to GDP growth in the nation. And these are lessons that we in Nigeria have to look at. Now, again, I also want to put a quote that the president said. He said, lifting these restrictions does not mean we are letting our guard down. We'll tailor our solution to unique social, economic, and cultural conditions. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. So it's a growing narrative across the world with regards to how African countries and African economies react to the lockdown. And it's supposed to be a varied approach. It's not something that's similar. So, I must say, it is pretty impressive seeing what the Ghanaians have done. But again, we'll see what GDP ends up being for 2020, and we'll have to keep watching what the cases look like.
Well, with regard to Ghana, it's not just Ghana. The whole world economically is affected. And that's why the IMF and the World Bank predicted minus growth in 2020. And effectively, the entire world is in recession. With regard to the economy in Ghana, if they record 1.5% growth in 2020, that would be the lowest in 37 years for a country that had consistently recorded 6% growth. But however, with regard to COVID-19 management, it seems to me that Ghana, like many other countries, we seem to have done better than Nigeria. Nigeria, with a population of 200 million people, has only been able to conduct 7,153 tests, COVID-19 tests. Ghana, with 30 million population, has been able to do up to 68,000 tests. And that is why the president of Ghana at this moment can say that, well, on account of the improved preparedness, that's his phrase, that Ghana has attempted, there may be need to, lift partially the restriction. And basically, it's just, civil servants who will be returning to work today in Accra and the major centers. What has Ghana done? Ghana, apart from using drones to monitor the situation, that is also being done in Rwanda, is ensuring that in all the 10 major regions, that there are testing facilities.
Yes,
across the country. And earlier on, I talked about testing in Nigeria. And I said Nigeria, is not doing enough in terms of testing. Sani Aliyu says that people are not making demand. Now, what exactly does he mean by that? Because we have also had cases of many Nigerians saying, even when they call for help, they will say, oh, if you have not reached this particular stage, then you cannot, seek help. Even the improvement that we have seen within 1 week in Nigeria is a result of what Minister Ehanire refers to as community testing, which he announced last week, and what they call house-to-house search in Lagos. But we still need to do a lot more. We need to learn a lot more from Mauritius, from Djibouti, small countries that are doing a lot more. Because yesterday when we recorded the highest number of cases, that was frightening. The only indication is that the more testing that is done, the more the numbers would rise. So we still, we are facing an emergency, it is very clear, and it is frightening. And for those people who are saying, going about, we also need to do a lot more in terms of communication. Because yesterday, one character was telling me that coronavirus is China-made, and anything that is China-made does not last. Now, that kind of mentality is what will put us into trouble in this country. Coronavirus is not China-made. It's a global pandemic. And I think the state governors need to do a lot more to tell people that this is not something from China or Taiwan. It is a human affliction.
Very correct.
Absolutely. And to be honest, it would be great to see us getting to a stage where we do improve on our testing capacity. And one can only hope that the government continues to test and test, because it's clear from the front pages of today that the more we test, the more COVID-19 positive cases we're going to find out about. But Rotas, thank you
for the
business updates of today.
Thank you for bringing us a lesson from Ghana.
That's a very good way to put it. We'll go on a very quick break now. And when we're back, Aaron Akerejola, our sports analyst, will be here to give us the latest developments in the world of sports. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Aaron Akerejola, our sports analyst, for the latest updates in the world of sports. Good morning, Aaron. How are you today?
Hello.
And how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Just good. Restful, I must say.
Good.
All right. Quite a lot has been happening in the world of sports, even though things are actually coming to a screeching halt. But nevertheless, let's start it off from a Nigerian who has actually been in hot water for quite a while right now. and he's actually facing a ban for 5 years. Talking about former Nigeria international, he played at the World Cup in 2010, Dixon Etuhu. Everyone knew him from his exploits with Fulham, more importantly than other clubs here, because he played in several other clubs, in the Manchester City, all right, he played in Sunderland and some other clubs, but he actually cut his teeth and actually made himself a household name when he was with Fulham, where they got to the finals of the Europa League back in 2010. But right now, he's in Sweden, and even though he had retired from football, he decided to actually, he has been found wanting for dipping his hand into the jar, and that involves match fixing. And as a matter of fact, right now, he's still hoping that the case will swing his way because his lawyers have actually appealed. But at the moment, it's not looking good for him. On the back of what we've seen with Samson Yeboah-Siasia, where he's actually been banned for life. So now, Dixon Etuhu is facing 5 years out of the game. And it's not looking good for Nigerians. And it's actually giving us a bad name, I must actually say.
Well, what is the narrative? The narrative is that in 2017, Dixon Etuhu was involved in, as you put it, an allegation of match fixing. This was supposed to be a match between AIK and IFK in Gothenburg, two teams in Sweden. And they had approached the goalkeeper and appealed to him to underperform in consideration for a fee. But what then happened was that the goalkeeper did not play along. The goalkeeper reported immediately to the football authorities that an attempt had been made by Dixon and I think two others to influence him to throw the game. And as a result of that, that match, was cancelled. It was not played, or rather, it was suspended. And they had been on the case. First, when they went to court, he was exonerated, but then the other party went back to court, and this time around, a 5-year ban has been placed on Etuhu. It's not good for his reputation. It's not good for his record, and it's also likely to jeopardize his future in the game. I mean, he has retired, so it's not as if he's likely to say he still wants to play. He's 37 years old. Yeah. But if he wants to transit to coaching, or he wants to look for other opportunities.
If he wants to become an agent.
Or he wants to become an agent, people are not likely to trust him. And I think for him, it's a personal disaster. I hope he wins on appeal, but if he doesn't win, it's really a terrible thing. And
it really
football is not a place where, people should introduce corruption as a standard measure of engagement.
Absolutely.
Or any sports at all. Anyway.
Yeah. Aaron, thank you for the updates. We have to go on a break now.
Thank you very much,
See you tomorrow.